There's nothing like 80s horror. What's going on, people? Alex Thorn here, and I'm just a rock and roller who in his downtime likes to watch movies while wearing a bandana. And this time on Does It Hold Up, I wanted to go back and look at one of two series. And I gave you guys a poll whether it was to look at the Night of the Demons VHS series from the 80s or Prom Night. So I know there was a 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm happy that you guys chose Night of the Demons because that is what we're going to find out today if it still holds up. So let's jump right into it. Night of the Demons was made in 1988. And I actually, for this review, I watched two versions. I watched the brand new 4K restoration and I watched the original VHS. That's right. We got to go old school on this channel. If we're going to call this Does It Hold Up, and if I'm going to have a VHS in the thumbnail of the video, then we've got to do this the right way. And we've got to do it by watching a traditional VHS. And here's the deal. For a movie that was made in 1988, this movie holds up on VHS. I'm not kidding you. It gives you that nostalgia, that right vibe. Now, I was super impressed when I watched it in 4K. Like, it was like, wow, look at the details, look at the amazing makeup work. But like, you kind of ignore all of that, the details and the makeup work and everything like that when you're watching the VHS because it just becomes part of the experience. So I urge you, I mean, I know it's hard to get a hold of a CRT TV and a VCR, and even harder, depending on where you are. I'm in a big city. So it's really hard to come across VHS classics. If you want to get them on the cheap, you got to pay a little bit more to get them, sent to you from eBay or buy them off of somebody on Mercari or one of you awesome people who send me things here on the channel. But here's the deal. I watched it there, and if you can do it, please, if you're a fan of 80s horror, get into VHS collecting, watch it on an old school CRT TV. Look, guys, from my research, this movie costed about $1 million to make, which was pretty high for 1988 and for a low budget film. But it made $3 million at the box office. So it made its money back. It made enough to get a sequel much, much later. But this movie is done so well. Like, it's the characters in this movie. Angela, of course, which she's such a young actress and girl in this movie that she's got a charm to her. You almost don't see it coming that she's going to be, the main demon in this movie. You don't kind of see it. Linnea Quigley felt like she was too old to do this film, and she refused the role several times before they convinced her to do it. And you guys might feel differently than I do on this, but I feel like they should have took her advice and not gotten her. In the original VHS version, she just comes off like any other really bad acting blonde girl in a horror movie in the 80s. But in the remastered version, you really, really see that she's much older than everybody else. And Suzanne is probably one of the most unlikable characters in an 80s movie, right next to Stooge, whose verbal skills in this movie. Shut up, bitch! What did I tell you, bitch? All this, it's so fucking 80s, it's crazy. But, very cringe, those two characters specifically. As cringe as Billy Gallo is as Sal Romero, he's got a charm to him. You got the main character, Judy, who's played by Kathy Podewell. And I forgot how gorgeous this woman was before she gets into the Alice in Wonderland, costume for Halloween. And that's all I remembered her for in this movie. Which, I mean, you can't fault me, right? She's in it 75% of the movie. She's in that outfit. And she just didn't come across as anything special once she got into that outfit. But before she got into that outfit, my God, stunner. if you've never seen this movie, the wild teenage girls, Suzanne and Angela, they hold a Halloween seance in an old funeral parlor to scare their friends. It's built on top of that. There's a demon, there's a seance. Angela's the weird fucking chick who wants to do all this stuff, right? And Suzanne is just, boy crazy, just wants to every guy she sees. So that's kind of what her gimmick is once she becomes the demon. She's the first one to get turned, by the way. Once she becomes a demon. There's some standout kills in this movie that still hold up to today. Angela's makeup stands up today. Suzanne's crazy, weird, demon transformation and the scene with the lipstick. If you have not seen that scene, you have not seen anything in horror from the 80s, because the way they did that was wild. I saw, I heard the commentary track. They did such an amazing job in getting rid of it and doing it well that you've got to see it just for that alone. And then there's so many other deaths in the movie that are really, really cool. There's some that are like, whatever. But there's signature stuff in this movie that is just timeless. And I don't think Night of the Demons really gets the credit it deserves for being such a classic 80s cheesy horror movie. Night of the Demons is an amazing 80s film. I really wish that the follow-up to this movie would come 1 year later in 89, 90. Because it would still have that vibe versus what happens in part 2. And believe me, I'm going to get to that. We're going to do a whole series review of this. I also plan on doing a 1988 versus remake when I watch that. And then, overall series overview of everything and a ranking and all that cool stuff. But, I can't thank you guys enough for voting for this series and this movie, because it's easily been, 10, 12 years since I've seen this movie, and it didn't look this good like it did on 4K. And at that time, too, the last time I saw it, I might have seen it on like DVD. In 2023, or whenever you're watching this review, Night of the Demons still holds up to this day. It's everything it was supposed to be then. It still is today, and it looks better. So like I said, get yourself a CRT screen, get yourself the VHS and a VCR, watch it in the classic way. But if you can't do that, go head over to Tubi. Go head over to any of those services that you can look up, movies, and see where it's at for free. Even if you got to pay $4 to watch it if you haven't seen it. And if you haven't seen it in a long time, it's worth a revisit. Night of the Demons definitely holds up in 2023. All right, guys, this is Alex Thorn, and you know what I got to do? Even though I've been working like a madman, if you're subscribed to me or following me on social media, it's Ultimate Thorn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You'll see a clip from one of my newer songs that's going to come out later on. Right now, there's another song being worked on and mixed and mastered by a brother. And then this other song that I just put up a clip on that I was working the vocals today. So, me, if I sound a little hoarse. Guys, thank you for being here with me. Go check out the movie. Night of the Demons still holds up in 2023. And you know what I got to do? I got to rock out so then I can sit down and feel good about watching some movies.